Hey kids, it's the Piston Fly here, out and about on another bike review and something pretty damn special today. This is another scooter. This is the flagship Yamaha TMax DX. This is the top of the range in the world of scooters that you can get. This thing is well tricked out. It's got riding modes, it's got heated seat, it's got heated grips, it's got cruise control, it's got adjustable screen, all the sorts of stuff that you associate with really high-end motorcycles. This machine has got in a scooter package. So stick around, stay tuned for the next few minutes, and I'll give you my first impressions review of the Yamaha TMax DX. Now, the only other scooter I've ridden has been the little brother of this, the 300cc X-Max. This machine has a 500cc twin-cylinder unit, and you immediately notice the difference in power. The pickup on this is quite a bit more considerable than on the X-Max, but then you'd expect that. It's got quite a nice sound to this as well. Sounds much more motorcycle-like, but of course when you're used to riding a conventional motorcycle and you pull away on this, it just sort of feels like the clutch is slipping all the time, but that's just the nature of the transmission on these. It's a big old bike physically, but actually it's very lightweight, and it's nowhere near as heavy to ride as it looks, because of course all the weight is low down, of course, because the engine is mounted so low down on scooters. This one though is a little bit unconventional in that most scooters have the engine mounted on, if you want to call it, the swing arm. This however has a conventional frame setup with an engine in the frame, albeit very low down, and then it's got a more motorcycle like swing arm, so it means the handling is a bit more like a motorcycle than a scooter, which is a good thing, I think. Brakes work stupendously well on here. The mirrors seem miles away, but they work really well. And it goes without saying that this big old seat is hugely comfortable, as is the riding position. My legs are at an obtuse angle, i.e. more than 90 degrees. It feels like I'm riding an armchair. You really could ride this thing all day long. And also winter, of course, with the heated seat and with the big screen and the massive fairings, this really is an all-weather motorcycle. Of course, it's in town where scooters come into their own. But this being the flagship bike, not only did I want to try it in town, but also wanted to try it on some faster roads. So I'm going to make my way up towards the motorway and try and do a junction on the motorway and just see how this fares as a sort of a mile muncher. I suspect it'll be absolutely fine cruising along at motorway speeds, but I want to give that a try and also test out this adjustable screen. So just while I'm making my way up towards the motorway, I might as well just talk you through some of the controls here and this amazing instrument panel that we've got. It's something more akin to what you might have on a car, or certainly a top-end touring motorcycle, than your usual motorbike. Massive analog speed and RPM gauges, which are always nice to see. And then in the middle there, you've got your little LCD instrument cluster, which contains all the usual stuff, like trip computers, etc. But also shows you what engine mode you're in, you know, what setting you've got the heated grips on, with the seat switched on, all that kind of thing, all there in the middle. Now, to change functions here on the screen, there's a little button just to the front here that you use, and that clicks it through. You see, that's the grips, that's the heated seat. Handling on these corners is lovely. It's really light and flickable through the roundabouts. Okay, so if I press this button again, that's the information cluster, so now I can change the various settings below. Or if I press it again, there we go, that's the screen. So now when I use this button, I can move the screen up and down. This button rather. There we go, screen up, and there we go. It's like being behind a barn door when it's like that. Absolutely no wind on my face at all, but I am looking through the screen, which isn't to everyone's taste, mine included. And if you bring it right the way down, okay, and right the way down, I can feel some buffet on the top of my head, although it's nice and clean, it's not turbulent air. I think somewhere between the two, probably about there is about right. But we'll try her out on the motorway in a second, and we'll see how it fares for weather protection. This thing really has some leg room. Looking down here, I've got my legs on the forward position at the moment. You can obviously have them on the bottom of the footboards like that, or at the front as well, so you can give your knees a good stretch. If you're on a long journey, you're not going to have a problem at all with this machine. Plenty of options to get yourself moving around. You can sit front on the seat, you can move back, move your legs around. Great for long journeys. I mentioned the electronics package on the bike, of which it's got loads. which includes things like traction control and ABS of course, but it's also got riding modes on this, which is quite something for a scooter. It's got a T mode and a sport mode. I'm in T mode at the moment, which is the kind of around town version. If I change it with the mode button here, there we go, I'm on to S mode now. See there, is this car going to go? Which is the more sporty version, just gets the throttle a bit more lively. Not sure what the fella in the Clio's doing. Right, let's have a go on the motorway, see what she's like. So full throttle now. There we go, 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour already. Just blend my way into the traffic. There we go, cruising here, 65, 70 miles an hour, absolutely no problem, and there's loads more for the engine to give. Let me just try changing the screen position out of interest. There we go, fully up. And I'm feeling a little bit of buffet around my shoulders and around my back. It's got that effect that you find sometimes with large screens. I noticed this when I rode the BMW 1600 GT. You get a bit of a suction effect to the back. I think it's where the air comes off the top of the screen and actually pushes you forward slightly. It's a really odd effect. It's not unpleasant, and it's very still and calm here, but I'm getting a bit of pressure on my back, which is just counterintuitive, but there we go. If I move the screen right the way down, suddenly the back pressure's gone, and now I'm getting a little bit of blast, actually more around my shoulders than my helmet. It's going over the top of my head. Let's just see what she's like for additional power over it. There we go, look at that, 90 miles an hour and loads more to give. I don't want to be going illegally, so I'll pull in, slow down, but just to demonstrate that the bike has plenty of speed if you need it. And it seems about there is the right setting for the windscreen for me. I'm now looking over the screen and I've got no turbulence on me whatsoever. Plenty of protection around the shoulders and so on. You really could ride this in all weathers. And you could tour on it. 2 up, no problem, I would think. For a 500cc, it's really feels quite sprightly. Alright, what I need to do is come off the motorway and find somewhere to show you around this beast. One of the other electronics features that this bike has got that's handy on the motorway is cruise control. Just down here, works in the usual way. Set her up by pressing that button and then increase or decrease your speed. Deactivates either by pressing the button again or by using the brake. Really handy if you want to use the bike to cruise. Well, very impressive on the motorway, I'll have to say. Absolutely no problem keeping up with and overtaking traffic on the motorway. If you've got long journeys to do, you could absolutely use this as a proper mile muncher and do proper tours on this bike. In terms of getting your feet on the deck, I'm on the balls of my feet here. This bike is quite wide here at the point at which you sit on it, but because the weight distribution is so low, it doesn't feel like you're going to drop it at any point. I'm 5'8" with a 30-inch inseam, so I find it no problem at all. Such an easy machine to ride. It just glides along. It's lovely. The quality of the ride is excellent. Suspension is nice and compliant. The seat is super plush. Riding position is all day long comfortable. It's a very natural and neutral riding position, very much like you're sitting in an armchair. Actually, I can't imagine how you could be more comfortable on a motorcycle. Very impressed with these Yamaha scooters, I have to say. Right, let's go through the lovely town of Beaconsfield and see if I can find somewhere to show you around this beast. Talk you through the spec. Slow speed balance on this thing is really good. You can virtually balance the thing at a standstill, but certainly at a walking pace. There's no need to get your feet on the deck until you're absolutely at a standstill. And the transmission, is just no jerkiness in there at all. Given it's a twin, you know, if it was a conventional motorcycle, it'd be quite thumpy and there'd be a bit of shake, rattle and roll, but this is really smooth. They've done some clever stuff with the engine to make it so smooth. And these urban environments are really where these bikes make just colossal sense. Now, it's always busy in Beaconsfield because it's such a lovely little place, but there's a car park down here on the left, and I'm hoping I can stick the bike in there and talk you through the spec. Aha! Looks like it's market day in Beaconsfield, so the car park is full of some sort of farmer's market or something. So I might be doing the walk around there. Alrighty, let's see what else I can find. This looks like it might be a good spot. Very fancy gateway to somewhere. Let's just pop the bike over here and show you around her. Great turning circle. There we go. And like all scooters, she won't run with the side stand down, so we stop her first, and then the side stand can go down nice and easy. There we go. Great, there we have it. The TMax DX, quite resplendent in the black. Looks like something from the Death Star. Let me get my other camera out, and I'll talk you through the spec. Okay, here she is then. The big TMax, flagship of the Yamaha scooters. I've got to be a bit careful where I've parked here because I don't want to get run over. Anyway, let's take you through the spec then. So 530cc parallel twin. I already mentioned this is slightly unconventional in that it's more like a motorcycle in disguise, because the engine itself is actually mounted in a frame in the centre of the bike, and then you can see it's actually got a swing arm here, which is you know, connected at the usual pivot point. So it's more like, you know, a motorcycle disguised as a scooter, I suppose, an automatic motorcycle if you like. I think it looks lovely. And this one, of course, in the black, does come in a number of colours. You can get it in a blue as well. In terms of power output, 33.8 kilowatts, which is in the old money 44 bhp at 6,750 rpm, putting out 53 newton meters of torque at 5250 rpm. Brakes wise, they work a treat. On this bike, if we look down the front, we've actually got dual discs on the front here, which work a treat, and then there's a single disc at the back. It's got telescopic front forks, as we can see they're conventional motorcycle style, and as I say, conventional swing arm at the back. Seat height 800mm, so quite low, but it's quite wide, so somebody like me, as I mentioned, a little bit of a stretch to get my feet to the floor, but the bike feels so light it's just not an issue at all. I talk the weight, 216 kilograms wet, so much lighter than the sort of massive bulk of the bike would belie. Tank capacity, take 15 litres, and this one on the road would cost you £10,899, so a lot of money for a scooter, you could say, but this thing has got everything thrown at it. So just to talk you through some of the electronics and features, I've already mentioned it's got cruise control, which the cruise control is just there, works in the usual sense, which is nice if you're touring. It's got D-mode power mode, so as I mentioned, it's got that sport and sort of touring power mode. It's got a heated rider's seat, not passenger seat. It's got the electronically adjustable windscreen that we looked at. It's got something called the TMax Connect app and integrated GPS, which is where you actually connect the bike up to your phone to do all sorts of whizzy things. Why don't all motorcycles do that these days? Of course, it's got traction control. Of course, it's got ABS. It's got the keyless ignition that we looked at. And it's even got integration, if you want it, with the Dainese D-Air kit, you know, the automatic airbag stuff, if you want to go down that route. And I say 10,899 on the road, an awful lot of motorcycle, and really a practical bit of kit. So let's just show you some of the other things here that you don't get on motorcycles conventionally. So here we've got the buttons that release for the fuel cap and the seat. They're not working at the moment because I've got the bike switched off. You need to switch the bike on using the on button, and then we can see that the dials come into being, and then we can do things like press that and get where the fuel is, and also we can press it if I move my gloves and lift the seat. There we go, which, as all scooters are, is quite gargantuan in there. You can't actually fit two full-face proper helmets in there. You can fit two sort of open-face jet-style helmets in, but nonetheless, great for a bit of shopping. And you know, you've got things like lights in there as well, so super practical when it comes to carrying a bit of shopping, or indeed your helmet. And then on this side, if we just move the handlebars over, we've got this glove box. We'll open that. And inside there, I don't know if you can see, but down the bottom there's a 12-volt socket as well, again for charging your phone or whatever. So all sorts of little practical things that you just don't get on a conventional motorcycle. That is what makes scooters quite appealing, I think, if you want a practical mode of transport. Okay, talking of transport, let's jump back on her then and ride her some more. Okay, so we jump on, side stand up, press the on button. Brings it to life. Let's do that again. There we go. Right, nothing coming. Off we go. Gosh, it's turning into a lovely day for motorcycling. Man, it gets really busy up here on Market Day down Beaconsfield Way. Anyway, must just take this opportunity as ever to thank the guys at Brian Gray's Power Biking, the Yamaha dealer for High Wycombe and the surrounding area, for making this review possible. If you're in the area, do pop down, see the guys there, say hello to Sam. Got loads of demo bikes if you want to try Yamaha out. Give him a ring beforehand and he'll be happy to let you have a ride on some of their bikes, I'm sure. Right, let's nip by here quickly. Where's he going? Come on then. To such a practical mode of transport, this, I can see why in countries like Italy they are so popular. In a hot country, you can just stop, take your helmet off and your jacket off, stuff it under the seat, wander off, park it anywhere, cheap to run. If you're not going to be rained on all the time, then a great way to get around. I think it's time to try a bit of filtering on the big scooter. So easy and relaxing to ride this. You're never going to get yourself into any sort of trouble with the law in terms of speeding everywhere. It's just the sort of thing that makes you want to sit back, relax and enjoy the ride. And there's an awful lot to be said for that, I have to say. So the bike seems quite lively in this sport mode. I'm just going to change it back now to touring. There we go, we're in touring mode, see if I notice much difference. I'm not a huge fan of riding modes, I have to say, on bikes, and I can't usually tell much difference, but let's see with this one. Okay, yeah, maybe there's a little bit difference in throttle response. It's a little bit sharper in sport mode perhaps, a little bit more leisurely in touring mode. So the brakes on this work brilliantly well with the double discs at the front. The seat's really comfy, mirrors work well. Can't really find anything not to like about this bike. Quite like the keyless ignition. I'm not sure about you know, if somebody wandered off with your key, what you do then, but then that applies to any, you know, if you have a conventional key. That seems to work pretty well. Display's nice and clear, switch gear works a treat, feels nice and light, handles well. Just really struggling to find anything I don't like about it. I'm just trying to, because I hate doing these reviews where all I say is good stuff about bikes. People think that I'm just saying it to keep the dealer happy, but this, you know, really is a nice ride. If you've not ridden a scooter before, do recommend you having a go, because if you have to use two wheels as a means of transport to get to work and commute or whatever, then I think the scooter is possibly the way to go. And on this one, the big TMax DX, then you've got every creature comfort going, what with the heated seats and heated grips, all this wind protection, storage. Just be a great way to get to work. Okay, so that's pretty much it for my review of the TMax DX there, the big Yamaha scooter. Really enjoyed riding it, and if you're at all minded to give a scooter a go, then I recommend you do. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Great fun machines as well as super practical. Okay, hope that's been of some interest to you, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio.